winners? Let the pros show you how to make money. General Manager Al DeMarco, a regular contributor on Fox Sports, MSNBC, and Comcast Sports TV, brings over 25 years of handicapping experience to the table. CEO Steve Budin, the author of Bets, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, is the man responsible for creating the online betting industry. Together, they lead PickNation.com, your number one source for winners.
30 more minutes to go here as we continue to break down all your NFL games from a point spread perspective here on the Pick Nation Report, the only NFL pregame show to do so. I'm Al DeMarco along with Steve Budin. I've been a professional sports handicapper over 25 years, started my career as a sports reporter, used what I learned from covering teams and players into putting that into analyzing games from a matchup and personnel perspective. I've won 8 straight football seasons, swept the board last Sunday and Monday with my best bets, Sunday being the Eagles and Cowboys over. Close, but certainly got there. But you know, when you go and cash out at the Golden Nugget the next day, they don't say, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. DeMarco, we're only going to pay you half that money you won because it was close."
Right.
And then Monday night, it was easy with the New York Giants getting the job done against the Minnesota Vikings there in the road game at Detroit. Steve, former bookmaker, the man who created the offshore sportsbook industry that we now know today, red hot roll. What are all the football crews the last 6 weeks now for you?
We are now 14-5-1, but more important than records, because I always say records went out with the Beatles. We now stand at plus 400 dimes for the run. This is going for now my 7th winning NFL Sunday in a row. Look, Ma, no hands, no nets. I'm doing it again.
Hey, we're going to talk about more what we've got going today, talk about the one-day free trial pass that you can get at PickNation.com, talk about a couple of sports service scams that you should be aware of, guys, based on our experience in the business. But first, back to the phones we go. John has been patiently holding on. He's calling from Miami. Big surprise. John, you want to talk a little Miami and Buffalo?
Yeah. Hopefully we can pull one out at home. Can't cover one yet, I think, so.
I mean, you're talking about
Worst
a pathetic
home team in the league. You guys got very lucky in New York. I was at that game, by the way. Hard to concentrate. I was at this place called the Coaches Club, which is right on the 50-yard line. It's like a little bar mitzvah that they set up right on the field. All the free food carving stations. Every now and then you pop out to the field. You're on the 50-yard line and check the game. But it was really hard to concentrate. I must have gained 7 pounds in that game. It was crazy. But I can tell you that what I did notice is that Miami did not put the Jets away. That the Jets lost that game. Miami didn't win it. That the Jets defense continued to hold them at the end, continued to put themselves one score away from winning that game. I believe Miami got very lucky in that game. Going into this game, I think the public didn't see that in the game. I think they're infatuated with the fact that Miami beat the Jets. I think this line shows it at 5.5. And Buffalo, they've been a very tough team. I mean, a very resilient team. They haven't gotten the W's, but they've certainly gotten close. And I think they get close again this week, and I think they cover the spread.
Yeah, but hey, look, a Bills, a winless team, has won 3 of its last 5 games straight up. They have covered 6 of their, well, actually, they're 6-1-1 against the spread in their last 8 games. But a word of caution, I hate the game. Everybody's going to be jumping on Buffalo because they see the value in the Bills as the dog. The last time this happened was 2 Sundays ago. Everybody jumped on Buffalo at Minnesota, and they got crushed at Minnesota. But again, you got a Miami team that's 1-5. 1-5 straight up on the road, yet they've only lost 1 game. 1-5 straight up at home, yet they've only lost 1 game on the road. Go figure, in this day of parity, in this day where the home teams generally dominate, in a season that has been owned by the dogs, the Miami Dolphins have certainly lived up to all billing because they have been a dominant road dog, and they've just sucked as a home favorite.
I'd give that 41 a look and going over because, good weather in Miami. Ryan Fitzpatrick, lighten it up. And all Henny has to do is get it together a little bit and score some points. And the next thing you know, they're going to be at that 41 total. I'm really impressed with the Ryan Fitzpatrick kid. I mean, he is heating up. I really like him.
He's a nice fantasy league player. That's what I'll say about Ryan Fitzpatrick. If he was that good, he would have kept the job at Cincinnati, would have kept the job in St. Louis. I mean, he's playing because they had nobody else, and I wasn't available, and neither were you. Right. So thanks for giving us a call, John. Let's talk about one of the other games, one of the first games here on the Sunday docket, Tennessee and Houston. And I think this is a real interesting game because there was Houston once again, falling behind in the first half on Monday night against Baltimore. Once again, staging a miraculous second-half comeback. Should have won the game, could have won the game, didn't win the game. Now they're on the road, short rest. However, I think that's somewhat negated here because they had 4 extra days of prep time for the Monday night game because their previous game was a Thursday night loss, were carried a lead into the fourth quarter, blew it at Philadelphia. This Tennessee team, when we last saw them, Jeff Fisher was giving us a new spin on math in the NFL. I'm not sure exactly what he was doing in the final second, going for that touchdown pass that gave everybody the backdoor cover, the ultimate backdoor cover, I think, this season. Tennessee against Indianapolis. But this is still a horrendous Tennessee tight ends team.
I mean, that made the bookmakers feel a lot better, but not Tennessee. I mean, can I answer one question? What has Randy Moss done for them?
Oh, absolutely nothing. They got Randy Moss figuring that he would be able to stretch the field. That's what everybody says. Oh, you get Randy Moss, you stretch the field. That means the defenders are playing back in the secondary. That opens up the running lanes for Chris Johnson. I don't know. Chris Johnson seemed to have enough running lanes last year when he ran for over 2,000 yards. This year, not getting the blocking, the passing game. Really, their best receiver is Kenny Britt, who just came back from injury. But the fact remains that they have lost, 6 straight games in a row.
And Houston's really lost 6 out of 7. The only people that they've beat is Tennessee.
And that was a game in which they shut out Tennessee at home a couple weeks ago, 20-0, when Tennessee, because of injuries to Vince Young, who's still out, and Kerry Collins, had to start the rookie Rusty Smith out of Florida Atlantic, that noted quarterback factory. He says with sarcasm. So this is a game, however, I think Houston, I'm watching the Monday night game, and I'm saying to my wife, we're watching the game, and I said, Gary Kubak's losing his job because they don't win this game. He's gone. That's it. He's had enough time in Houston that they are not going to put up with another 8-8 season or another I missed the playoffs by a game and a half type of thing. And yet, I still think Houston has so much offensive talent here. Tennessee is not going to be able to match them point for point. And literally in this, pick 'em game, Tennessee a 1.5-point favorite. I'd lean toward Houston. But tell me, how is this price? 47.5. I mean, for the total. This is a Houston team that, other than the first Tennessee game, has given up 27 or more points in every single game, 24 or more points in every single game this season. They don't play any defense.
Right. The only way it could go under is if these teams are just not interested in playing football at this point because neither one of them have a shot to be anywhere come February.
Right. I mean, Houston comes into this game. They've gone over in 5 of their last 6. They score plenty of points, and they can run the ball, throw the ball, as we all see. They give up even more points. And, I think that you have to look at the recent run of unders for Tennessee. They had gone under in 3 straight games prior to the Indianapolis-Tennessee contest because of all the injuries at quarterback. Right. But with Kerry Collins there, they can throw the ball. Yes. And they can run the ball with Chris Johnson. So I think if you're going to play this, you've got to take the over in this particular game. Another game I wanted to talk about briefly here. I'm surprised no one's called in about it. This is one of the more interesting matchups here. Jacksonville, Indianapolis. We know that Peyton Manning, after throwing the 4 picks that were returned for touchdowns in his 3 previous games, came out and was definitely on fire against Tennessee. We also saw the Colts once again have a second-half collapse, their defense unable to stop anybody, and we know what happened when the Colts were much healthier earlier in the season. They went to Jacksonville. Jaguars won it, I think it was 31-28, and they won it on a last-second monster field goal. How this game is not a 3 is really shocking to me.
And it's because and I use the word very lightly, but every sucker out there,
but that's the truth.
Every sucker out there is looking at one thing and one thing only: Peyton Manning in a must-win. That's all they see. And because of that, they're willing to lay all kinds of numbers. And this is a game that's 5, like you said, that should be 3. So unemotionally, look, if you look at this game, Jacksonville, well, they can run better than the Colts. They can play the run better than the Colts. The Colts are having a hard time passing the ball. They got so many injuries in their receiver core that they're just not passing it the way they used to. You put all those factors together, and will the Colts win this game? Probably. It'll probably be decided by 3. But I think, you have to take the 5 here as a value play.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a Jacksonville team that comes into this game red hot, straight up and against the spread. I mean, the Jaguars come in here and they've won 5 of their last 6 straight up. They've covered every single one of those games as well. Their only loss was a game against the Giants in New York, or New Jersey if we want to be specific, where they had to lead at halftime, and the Giants, in a must-win game for them, came back. Nothing to be ashamed of, losing by a few points to the New York Giants on the road when that's your only loss in a 6-game stretch. as a former bookmaker, you had to look at these games and see this line, and you know it like I do. This should be a 3-point line, no ifs, ands, or buts, and go, sucker money is coming in. I'm cashing in on these suckers.